Welcome to the D Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the D Shift. And we are going to talk about something today that either makes you feel really happy or makes you feel like, oh crap, I do not want to address this aspect of my life. And what I'm talking about is habits and how they can help us or how they can hold us back. And when we're going through a divorce, this is the perfect time to take a look at our habits and see which one of those categories they fall into. So I have an expert on the subject with me. I want to introduce you to Ronnie Loaiza. She is a certified professional life coach with a holistic mind, body, psyche connection focus. She is also a certified personal trainer. She's an actress. She's an author. She's been a news anchor. She does all kinds of things. And Ronnie is just a phenomenal person. I had a chance to meet her in person, and we spent a few days in Florida working on a mastermind together. So that was a lot of fun. And I just really admired what she was talking about and how she helps people. Really focusing on creating natural, lasting habits that make life easier in all areas of your life, whether it's finances, relationships, personal, exercise, self-care, you name it. So, Ronnie, welcome.
I was giggling when you said it's either a great thing or you're like, ah, that is so true. Marty, it's so good to be here. I've enjoyed so many of the episodes that I've listened to. And like I was telling you on the personal side, many episodes aren't exactly me, but man, they have things that pertain to my life anyway. So a lot of things in here are relatable, whether you're going through divorce, you might go through divorce or not, or you have gone through divorce. So I just want to tell you kudos to that because there are a lot of things in here that are relatable.
Well, thank you. And I learned something from every one of the guests. And I found, so I've been through divorce, but I've also been through the loss of a spouse process. And so a lot of that stuff that you do when you're going through divorce, you also do. Yep. If your partner is deceased. And so I think that this can apply to everything. I've had other people say, oh, I never thought about that. And I'm married and not planning on a divorce. So you just never know. Ronnie, this idea of focusing in on life coaching around habits and habit building, how did you get into that? And kind of what's your backstory on this?
Okay, well, I'll tell you real quickly, but you also said psyche, but just in case somebody didn't hear that well, it sounded like psychic. I'm not psychic, okay? I'm not far from psychic. No, holistic, I just say mind, body, and psyche, mostly to encompass everybody because some people like mind, body, and spirit or mind, body, and soul. But some people are like, they don't like those words. I'm like, psyche. It's that part of the brain that you can't really explain, your subconscious. So that's why I call it psyche. But yeah, like you said, I was a journalist. I was a news anchor reporter for many years and loved it. And I was a production assistant, all that. But in my mid 40s, I started having some health issues. I had banged the heck out of my body doing, remember this word? Aerobics. It's now called cardio. But I used to jog and do the step aerobics and all that, but I really messed up my knee and my hips. Anyway, long story short is I had gone to several chiropractors, 2 Western medical doctors. They wanted to fuse my spine, this, that, the other, decompression, and I had given up. I finally went to one chiropractor for the heck of it. And he put me with a corrective exercise personal trainer. Within 2 weeks, Marty, I didn't hurt anymore.
Wow.
And she got me doing strength training. Now, I was not athletic. I had taken 9 years of ballet, but I mean, I was always the last one picked a dodgeball. I was not fast, but I'm like, okay, I did not hurt anymore. And maybe it was the journalist in me that I asked a million questions. I did so much research and we always talked about it. She's like, you need to be a personal trainer. You need to be a personal trainer. I'm like, me at my age? She's like, yeah, you'd be a walking billboard and people your age and older will believe you. You're in better shape now than ever. My bone density had gone up. My muscles were better. So I one day woke up and thought, I think I want to be a personal trainer now. So I totally left. I mean, I stayed an anchor about 9 years more. I was a radio news anchor here in LA. But I really got into training because every client I had, I'm getting to the habits, I made sure that person made it a part of their identity, just who you are. So you do something every day. I'm dating myself, but same bat time, same bat channel. To me, that was more important to show up. I don't care if it was 5 minutes, but to show up. So it just becomes weird if you don't.
Right.
It's more important than the personal workout that I can just hand you, print out, go to YouTube. A lot of personal trainers, sorry, they're rep counters. I was not. I wanted to make sure that each person could be as healthy as that person could be. Period. End of story. So I worked on their habits. And people would ask me, well, should I do yoga or should I do Pilates? Yes. Well, what do you mean? Do what you will do. And that's the thing about habits. When we start creating habits or we start getting rid of habits, you want to go to the place in your mind to start with what you will do, the easiest, tiniest, minuscule action that with repetition, repetition, repetition will start to grow and form into a solid habit. And you don't have to think about it anymore because our habits are on autopilot. They're a
Right.
systemized thing in your subconscious that get you to do it without thinking. And that's so much easier, Marty, than self-discipline or constantly revving up the willpower, revving it up. And that's what leads many people, especially women, to burnout because you're constantly revving up the willpower. It gets exhausting.
Yeah.
Or like waiting to be motivated or forcing that motivation. Make something you want to do, whatever your goal is, personal, self-care, whatever, financial habits, one tiny action at a time, make them habits so it just becomes a part of who you are.
I love that message. And you are right, because what I see, and Ronnie, I want you to kind of dive into that idea of getting rid of some habits and bringing in some new habits, because I think what happens is a lot of times as women, and I guess probably men do this to some extent too, we don't ever get rid of anything old, whether it's good or bad. We just keep trying to add new stuff. Like I always go to this analogy. How many people have a New Year's resolution? I'm going to go to the gym every day this year. And the gyms are packed the first week after, January 1st to the 7th, the gyms are packed. January 7th to the 14th, they're about 75%. The middle of the month, there's maybe 50%. And then by the end of January, it's back down to just the regular crowd that has gym as their habit.
Oh yeah, we don't see anybody there from like November to January 1st.
Yeah.
The gyms are so empty. And the thing is, I became a certified habit coach because when the pandemic happened, a lot of people were telling me, a lot. Hey, I had this friend, I had this my boss or my sister, they're not working out. And I was like, really? I thought everybody was starting to walk and cycle and bought a Peloton. But I'm like, do you want me to talk to her? And I started talking to people and we would figure out, Marty, what was going on. And this deals a lot with people who are about to get a divorce or are going through divorce, in that even though you're pulling your big girl pants up or big boy pants up and taking care of business and going through it, it's still an anxious time
Yeah.
in your subconscious. So a lot of women, especially, were going through a hard time because the kids were at school. I mean, not at school. They were working off the dining room table. Their spouses were home. Their partners were home. Everybody was, and they didn't want to be indispensable, whether they were the boss and they had to keep the business going, or you worked for a company and you didn't want to be furloughed. So there was a lot going on. And it was never about the working out. It was about things going on in their lives, or they felt self-conscious working out at home. So we figured out what to do. Maybe work out 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon, 5 minutes, close that laptop or whatever. I always help them figure out the tiniest thing that they would do every day, get back into it. Same thing with divorce. When you're going through a life change, yeah, it's like, okay, this is my life now. I'm moving, or you stay in the house, whatever. Things change as much as you want to keep it together. And our minds don't like change. Our lizard brain wants everything to stay put, even if you might hate the situation. Your brain isn't judging it. Your brain does not judge anything. It just knows what it knows. It's like, oh, this is change. Well, change is supposedly dangerous. Believe it or not, even if you don't like something.
Right.
So during the pandemic, people were saying, God, you coached me so well. I'm like, okay. And my sister had told me 20 years before, you should be a life coach. And honestly, Marty, I'm like, what the heck's a life coach?
Yeah,
I was very cynical. I'm like, another Jay Shetty wannabe. I don't know. And all of a sudden, don't look at pink elephants. I saw coaches everywhere. Like in 2021, they were popping up. But I got serious about it and I looked into it and I saw the variety of coaches. I mean, menopause coaches, midlife coaches, executive coaches, the sports coaches, all the regulars, career coaches. But I saw a lot of different kinds of niches. So I decided to become a coach and I took it seriously. And I've gone up through the levels and the hours, and I love the psychology behind it. I did it for myself, for the curriculum, the ethics. I'm very structured that way. So I'm ICF, International Coaching Federation, and now I'm a master certified professional coach. And I say professional because I started coaching a lot of men and women in career transition, in life transition, in midlife transition. I even coached one lady who for 20 years had been thinking about divorce, and she finally took action on not making that decision. So even in those areas, whatever we decided to do, what their goals were, I started with habits. I brought back the old, or I inserted, didn't really bring it back, but I inserted go tiny, go tiny. Don't take everything on at the same time. What one thing will keep you going every day, one at the minimum. And it's usually more, but what's the minimum that you will do that will drive your day? Because our days, 50% of all our days are driven and made up by our habits. Half our day when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is really important because we have to evaluate those habits, because we can get into habits. And I'm thinking of one that I hear all the time when I talk to my clients and say, look, we've got to figure out some time for self-care. And for me, self-care isn't chocolates, wine, and bubble baths. It's sleep, exercise, and nutrition. Those are what I consider kind of the three pillars of self-care when I'm talking to my clients. And of course, doing things that bring you joy. But one of the things that I find is people always say, I don't have enough time in the day.
That's the first thing that comes up.
When I have them do a time evaluation of their day, and we find out that they are spending 25 minutes a day scrolling TikTok or something, that is time that's a habit that you have formed that is no longer serving you. And that's what you help people do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something that's really important that I hope we can delve in a little bit. But as I was doing this, by the way, I was reading more and more as I was starting a life coach and being paid for it, because you do like 100 hours pro bono. I was reading a lot more about habits. So that started coming up in the algorithms. And I discovered there are such things as habit coaching and habit coaches. And I became a certified habit coach. And it is my jam because it goes into everything. And you say self-care. Well, let's take it. What I hope we'll also get into it. There are financial habits.
Sure.
What are you in the habit of doing with your money? How are you in the habit of spending every day? How are you in the habit of saving every day? How are you in the habit of thinking about money? There's also the habitual way of thinking, our default way of thinking of something, our immediate reaction to something. That your immediate emotional reaction is how you habitually react to it.
Right.
So self-care. I read this eons ago when I was a personal trainer. I got so excited. It was in Forbes. And there's also a guy who did a study. I forget his name, Tom Corley. He did the top habits of wealthy people.
Right.
And he surveyed for 10 years. Was it Tom Corley?
I can't remember, but I know what you're referencing there. Yeah.
I know it's Corley. I just forget his first name. But he did this thing, and he was on CNN and all of this, and Wall Street Journal, where he followed millionaires. Now, at the time, millionaires was a big thing. Now with Bezos and all that, it's billionaires. But the wealthiest people in the world, he followed them around for 5 years. And they all, I picked this out. My brain picked this out because I was a personal trainer at the time when I read this. They all worked out every day. Every day. And even on their, quote, rest days, they could not sit around and do nothing and just eat Cheetos and watch football. Inevitably, they would get up and go mow the lawn or go play. Play. When you were saying self-care, I also thought of the word play, active rest. So because their brain was so used to, okay, we got to do something physical now. And these are the wealthiest people. So a lot of people equate wealth to success. So what I'm saying is, they were so used to doing it, it helped them. Self-care and exercise help them in many ways. So that will also help you focus and also take care of yourself. Because when you exercise a little bit. We're not pushing exercise here. I'm just talking about the habit of it. When you take care of yourself in one area, you usually take care of yourself in other areas.
Yes, yes. And I was thinking, yeah, because I mean, you're a personal trainer, so it makes sense we're talking a little bit about exercise. But like you've said, Ronnie, this can be applied in every aspect of your life. And one of the things that I find, is simple things like cooking a meal for yourself. To me,
Mm.
that's self-care. It's very meditative. Even if you're not a great cook, I mean, you can now buy those pre-measured meal kits, and all you're doing is actually doing the cooking. You might be chopping the vegetables, but everything's so there's lots of ways to do this. But that one habit of cooking one meal a day for yourself, it's a way of recognizing, it's a way of honoring yourself, it's a way of feeding our bodies, it's a way of, like I say, just getting into a healthy something. To me, that really, it's significant in all areas of your life. And it's interesting when you talked about finances, because I think finances, especially for a lot of women, is something that it's a mindset thing. It's a limiting belief that women aren't good with money. I think that's something that society just kind of drills into us, and we hear that.
Or what I've also found, I don't know if you've heard of this, I find women reward themselves with money. In other words, I didn't need those extra shoes, or they go to the grocery store and they end up buying like $300 worth of groceries rather than the one thing they needed. I've met women who they're power women, they're moms, they're taking care of business, they work, and they don't know how much they're spending. They don't look at their finances every day, or they don't have the tiny little financial habits. I'll name you one that's just a throwaway. I'm not saying you should do this, but I have gotten in the mental habit. It's kind of a game with me. I look at the price per unit. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, yeah.
It became a game with me. And I look like, okay, this costs 46 per ounce, 46 cents per ounce. And this one costs 52 per ounce. While the one that says 52 per ounce may look cheaper, it's actually not, and just my mind rapid fire does that. This may sound stupid, but I'm just saying, when you get into little financial habits like that, like maybe make a routine of every Friday, look at your bank statement, or just open up the account online, look at it for a few seconds and walk away, because it keeps you in touch.
Right.
And people are not in the habit of, when they are married, of talking about finances.
Right.
It's like they can make out on the first date. They may even have sex on the third date. They can be really intimate and do all sorts of things, but they will not talk about money.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's more intimate than sex.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've had several people on it, and this is so funny how this conversation comes around several times, but I've had several people. I even had an attorney, Nancy Perpall, on her episode, said there's two very difficult conversations that people should have before they decide to even get into a serious relationship. And that's the money conversation and the sex conversation, because you want to know where your partner stands on both of those before you go any further, before you even get to the engagement point. So you're right. And so many people, like you say, just are so against looking at this stuff, and they willfully, so not that there's anything nefarious by the other partner, but they just say, look, I don't want to deal with the money. You deal with it. Interestingly enough, in both of my relationships, my spouses wanted nothing to do with the relationship, with the money. They said, you take care of it. So that gave me a bit of an advantage, in the divorce and in my second husband's death, but still.
And the other thing is, people think budgeting is like, oh, like you said, that habit word can be, oh, that's wonderful. Or it can be like, oh my gosh, I'm scared of that word, habit. Budget is also like, oh, it can be daunting. Not if you get in the daily habits. Yeah. Honestly, I'm not a whiz. I do a tax prepare, and I prepare for my tax prepare. Like, I clean up the house before the cleaning lady comes, so it won't be that much more work. But if you get in the habit of how you feel about it and look at it and deal with it every day, it gets so much easier. And plus, you're a good role model. If you have kids, that's a really good role modeling for your children. It's like, this dollar counts for something. This 50 cents counts for something. Know what you're spending it on. Know how you're saving it. And how you think about money is really important. And a lot of women are great with money. I'm not saying they're not. A lot of people are. And but you also have to be in the habit of opening up and communicating about it. But financial habits is just one thing. Also, the other thing is, like you were saying, TikTok, I got in the habit of just looking at my phone before going to bed in bed. That's bad. That's bad for the brain. It just is. So you have to kick the habit, but you think it's a reward. So how you form new habits, I mean, there are four things to habits, whatever it is. If it's time management, if it's productivity, it's of getting the habit of making that one sales call you don't want to make every day. And that usually turns into 5 or 10 sales call. But people have worked with me on this. That's why I'm doing like case studies, like, oh, that dreaded sales call or whatever it is, work habits, personal care habits. If you just do one tiny thing that will get you there, and there are four ways to build a habit. First, do you have all the resources? Do you have the right support? Is your partner going to support you in this? Do you have the information, the education, whatever it is you need? We go through that, whatever action you want to form into a habit. The second thing is make sure that you have the activator. People think either a post-it or your alarm is the best activator. Well, a lot of people, the alarm goes off, they turn it off, they don't do the thing. So we have to look as a coach. I help them like what will really like boom. It's a trigger. It's an automatic trigger that you will do that thing. So you have to find the right activator. And I kid around about post-its, but people do vision boards and never look at it. And it's there on their wall and they rarely really look at it. Or the post-its are all over around and they stop looking at it. It becomes part of the wallpaper. So you have to pick the right activator. This will lead to this domino effect. Third one, since we're talking about rewards, our brain just wants the validation. That's it. We call it a reward. And so I make the other dreaded word, Marty, accountability. When you hear that, sometimes that you feel like, oh God, I got to be accountable to somebody, you know? And usually we're the least accountable to ourselves because at least if we make a date with somebody, you show up. If you pay somebody, you show up. But we break dates with ourselves constantly every day. So I make accountability celebrative accountability. I start my clients off with celebrate, even if you're on your way and you hate doing something. I'm not saying lie to your brain, say, oh, I love doing this, because if there's one little nugget in your brain that says not really, it's going to to prove to you that you really hate it. So if you say to yourself, I hate this and I'm doing it anyway, your brain's like, yeah, true, noted. And you celebrate as you're doing it, I'm doing this. And you celebrate immediately after you've finished, just even if it's like very somber, like I did it, it usually turns happier and every day it gets better. Yeah. And your brain goes, noted, capable, done. So you start reprogramming yourself so it's not a bad connotation. That's reward. Your brain just wants that reward. Bad habits and good habits alike. Your brain just wants that you did it and wants that reward. And the final thing is boost your ability to do it, whatever it is. What I get my clients to start that new action and then experiment 2, 3 weeks, whatever it is, 4 weeks, put on that white lab coat. It's just taking data. Do not judge yourself. I'm doing so bad. I couldn't do it today. If you skip a day, okay, why? We're just analyzing. And then we can tweak it. We can morph it. Maybe we can change that action. Maybe you thought that was the action that would lead to that habit. Maybe that's not the habit you want to lead to your goal. Whatever it is, you just put the white lab coat on and you test it. That way you boost your ability. You take away the barriers, and then sometimes you put the barriers. I'm kidding around, but get rid of the Skittles in the cupboard. Get rid of the whatever, Yeah. Take away the barriers as well. So that's how you form a habit in any area of your life.
That is fantastic. I love that breakdown. That's really clear, easy to understand. I think that's fantastic. Ronnie, you have covered a ton of information, and I cannot believe how fast these conversations go. But of all of the stuff that you've talked about, what is the one point you just want to put a highlight on and just kind of summarize what you've talked about, what you think is most important for people to know?
That it's never too late. You're never too old it's never too late in the game, whatever that means to you, to form a new habit and a habitual lifestyle and a habitual mindset. And going through changes gets easier when you make it part of your norm, not force it, not like, okay, just do it. That was great for Nike. The word just is the thing that got you to, jump in the deep end. Got it. At the same time, you're not going to jump in the deep end every day. That's not a habit.
Right.
So usually when people do the just do it, they've already started the motion. Let's just think of the athlete. Okay, I've already got my tennis shoes on. I'm about to start this run. All right, let's do it. They're
Yeah.
already prepared. They already want to. The thing about the habits is you're not prepared. So start small. It's never too late. You're never too old to start a new habit or to get rid of one. And that includes your habitual way of thinking and seeing your life.
Great sum up and great reminder. And now, Ronnie, you have kindly offered a gift for everyone. Can you just tell us a little bit about the gift? I'll make sure the link and everything gets in the show notes for them.
Wonderful. And I know that this conversation was a little broad because it gets very, very detailed. And that's what this gift is for. Let's get detailed. We find out what your real goal is in your life. Let's say you are going through divorce or whatever it is, or it could be anything else. What is the real goal? And usually people find out, oh, that wasn't really my goal. This is the goal. Start smaller with daily goals. So it's a power session to really get to the nitty gritty of what that is and come up with some ideas of what's the minimum thing that you could do that will get you to do the minimum that will keep you on track.
Wonderful.
And on track. So it's a power session.
Yeah, thank you so much. And what an amazing gift for people to take advantage of. So make sure that you click on that link. It's going to be in the show notes. And the last question I have for you, Miss Ronnie, is how can people find out more about what you do? What's the best way to reach out, contact you, or go to your website, however you want people to be able to find you?
Well, remember this, Ronnie Lowe, that's L-O, life coach, Ronnie Lowe, life coach. It just kind of goes, but you can see me everywhere on LinkedIn. I'm especially on LinkedIn, Ronnie Loaiza, life coach. And please, I'm sure you have in the show notes. think I have a link to how to book a session just to talk with me. But yeah, RonnieLoweLifeCoach.com and also on LinkedIn, Ronnie Loaiza.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. It was fantastic. And I've got some new ideas on habits and how to create them. So thank you for that. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening in to this episode of The D Shift. And don't forget to tune in again next Tuesday. Thanks for listening and supporting the D Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.